Welcome all to the Pro Football Radio Podcast. This is your co-host, Jay Chima, with the pride and joy of Merrimack, New Hampshire. The Boomer.
Oh, yeah, that's real booming, Jay. So you opened up with it being booming. I kind of jumped a little bit with the sound coming through my headphones. And yeah, you're really booming towards the end, but I like it. How you doing, brother? How goes the battle today?
Dude, I am doing so good, Brandon. I am doing absolutely wonderful, brother, man. I am feeling good. Week 1 of the NFL is in the books. Today, I got my Ohio State football back. The Big Ten is making a comeback. So life is fucking great right now, man. I am so excited.
Yeah, perfect time. So Jay, what's the deal with the Big Ten? Are they doing 8 games and conference championships, and then that brings you right to Selection Sunday? Like, how are they going about the Big Ten season this year?
So first of all, hashtag fire Kevin Warren. Always got to throw that in there. Fire Kevin Warren. Secondly, what's happening is they're going to start up October 23rd and 24th. They're going to run through an 8-game season with, I believe, 1 week built in for flexibility if COVID happens. And then the championship weekend, essentially all top 8 teams will play, but only 2 teams will be playing for the Big Ten championship game. The rest will be playing for 3rd, 4th, like 5th, 6th, that kind of thing, you know?
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yep. That championship game will be one night before Selection Sunday for the college football playoffs.
Oh, no pressure.
All right, exactly. And all indications are if Ohio State gets our 8 games in and we win the Big Ten championship, the college football committee has said they will consider the Big Ten championship in as well.
Oh, nice. So when you mean by 1 week flexibility, is it like each game in between you have like almost like a bye week kind of deal, or is it kind of buffer period on each end?
The schedule is not out yet, so we don't know how they're going to build that flexibility in. The schedule should be coming out by the end of this week because they're reworking things. But essentially, I do believe it's going to be 1 week towards the end. But by the way, this is on top of their bye week as well. So I guess you can call it 2, but technically they get a bye week just to kind of, do their own thing.
Right.
So yeah, I'm super excited, man. Super excited. It took a long time. There was a lot of, bullshit behind the scenes. And for the longest time, I lost some hope just because this has been building for 2 weeks now. And there was on again, off again reports of it coming back. But finally, the Big Ten realized the grave mistake they made, and they realized they had to correct it. Now, I truly believe the Big Ten, when they put this plan into motion back in August, they thought that everybody else was going to fall back in line with them. And they thought they were going to be the leaders. They're going to be praised. They're going to look so good, shutting college football down for the safety of the players. But once they realized that other conferences were actually problem solving and trying to figure out a way to play, that's when they started shitting the bed. And this and don't let it be mistaken, this was pressure put on the Big Ten to come back. Nothing else than the fact that the SEC is starting this week, Big Ten's playing already, ACC is already playing, is the reason why the Big Ten is back today.
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, this is kind of what happens when, we were talking about this, off air last week too. Of this is what happens when the big daddy, the NCAA, doesn't come in as a whole and just does its own thing and puts forth a proposal for all the other conferences to follow. They kind of turned this whole issue of college football into an NCAA version of states' rights. You know what I mean? The ACC and the SEC are like, Florida and Georgia. And then here is the Big Ten being like Massachusetts and Connecticut. And the Pac-12 was trying to follow lockstep with what the Big Ten was doing. And it sounds like, are they really the redheaded stepchild at this point, the Pac-12?
Well, from the reports coming out of the Pac-12, looks like the governor of California absolutely never put any restrictions into play. That's what his comments were today, because he came out and said, well, I spoke with Larry Scott 2 hours ago today. Essentially, he told Larry Scott, the commissioner of the Pac-12, "Oh yeah, I never said that. I never said you guys can go out there and practice." So now we're looking at the Pac-12, and they're also shitting the bed because they're like, "Oh shit, we're the last ones out here," and now they're gonna be forced to come up with the game plan as well. But all of this speaks to incompetence from the NCAA, incompetence from the Big Ten commissioners and chancellors. And what I'm trying to get at, the bigger point here is, this could have been avoided. This could easily have been avoided back in August when they realized they made the decision way too quick. And my biggest issue back then was, we had this conversation. My biggest issue back then was, essentially the Big Ten made a premature move. They could have taken more time to figure out. Essentially, they didn't need to make a decision back in August. They had way more time to make that decision, but they decided to jump the gun, be the leaders, essentially, show the college football world that they're shutting it down, and hopefully everybody will follow. And that's what's happened here. Essentially, they look like shit now. They look like they have no fucking leadership at all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and you know what the last bit on the college football is, if you think about it, nobody really cares if the Big 12 plays or not, right? Like, if you want to talk about how far the mighty have fallen, like, it's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long ago when the Pac-12 was almost the be-all, end-all of football back in, USC's heyday, and UCLA at times, would make rumblings and whatnot, but man, how far the mighty have fallen. Nobody really seems to give a damn about whether or not the Pac-12 plays football or not this year.
Oh, the Pac-12 is fucked for years to come, bro. Because right now what you're seeing athletes out of the Pac-12 go to major schools. For example, Alabama went into USC's background and picked up, I forget the guy's name, something Bryce from Mater Dei. He was the quarterback, number 9, hell of a recruit, should be USC's next quarterback. He went to Alabama because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, coaches are circling the wagons, and this just goes to show you, when the college football committee selection show will happen at the end of December, if Clemson, Ohio State, Bama, and Oklahoma get in, nobody's going to care one bit about the Pac-12.
No.
Nobody's going to give a shit, and you deserve it, Pac-12.
No, absolutely. And in regards to the Pac-12, do you see any? This is just your gut feeling. I'm not going to hold you to it, but do you think any schools from the Pac-12 will try to make an exodus and maybe go to, say, the Big 12?
I don't. Good question. Good question. There is going to be one more major tectonic shift happen in the NCAA alignment of conferences. You saw that happening a few years ago when the Big Ten took on some new teams, the Big 12 took on some new teams. I don't think it's going to happen in the immediate future, but in 5 years, because I truly don't believe the Pac-12 is going to be able to recover from this. They're so far behind the game right now. Unless they come out in the next week or so and say we got a college football season ready to go, they're going to miss that Selection Sunday show, and that's the big issue here. There's no point of playing in January. You're just playing for what? The Pac-12 trophy. Where does that get you, right?
Right.
So I think some of the marquee programs might look to bounce, especially with the amount of checks being cashed, especially in the Big Ten and the SEC. The Big 12 is third in the TV rights deals and the checks they get. But I think you make a good point. We could see it. We could see a USC or an Oregon try to see if they can go somewhere else to really solidify their football prowess.
Right, for sure. My thought, this is just my gut feeling. I feel, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like there was a lot of buzz of Arizona State this year. And I feel like if one college was to split out of the Pac-12, I feel like Arizona State might be the first domino to fall.
Yeah, so with Herm Edwards being out there and the amount of NFL coaching talent he has on that roster, additionally, he has some great recruits that he's pulled in. Plus, he's really good at marketing, and the Twitter/Instagram content coming out of the program makes it look like you're going and rolling up to an episode of MTV Cribs.
This is true. You did show me this. This is very true.
Right. So I do like what Herm Edwards is doing there. I do think in about 2 or 3 years, they're going to be the class of the Pac-12. I think you're going to have two big dogs in the Pac-12. You're going to have Arizona State, and you're going to have Oregon up north. Washington will make some play here or there, but I think USC is in the worst situation right now because they're not recruiting well, and on top of that, nobody cares about them, and they don't have a competent head coach. So I feel bad for USC because they're gonna be shit for a long time, and it's unfortunate because college football is better when USC is better.
Oh, for sure. With all the history there, they're almost like you've said this before on the podcast too. Like the NFL's great when the Chicago Bears are great. You know
Yeah,
what I
of
mean?
course, yeah.
And they're the college football version of that for
So,
sure.
so the blue bloods of college football are going to be USC, Texas, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama, Ohio State, Penn State, Florida, Clemson, and who am I forgetting? LSU. Like essentially, if these teams are good, then college football is good.
Right.
And I purposely left off that team up north. They might be blue blood, but I'm not really sure.
I mean, Jay, they never like. I'm a Michigan guy in the rivalry. Like, let me just put it out there. But I'm the first one to comp to it. Like, Michigan has not done anything since, like, God rest Bo Schembechler died. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have not done anything from the Rich Rodriguez time to what is it, Floyd? I forget his first name. He was tenured there for a
Yeah,
while.
Lloyd
To
Carr. Lloyd Carr had some
yeah,
good
Lloyd
years.
Carr, that's right.
He's the
Yep.
one. He's the one that won them that not a championship, but they finished undefeated and they self-proclaimed themselves championships, which is stupid as fuck. But
Right.
regardless, they had that year in '06 where they had the number 2 team in the country, and essentially they lost to Ohio State in that 1-2 in the shoe with Troy Smith. And then the next year they had a great team coming back because I remember Mike Hart wanted to come back, Chad Henne wanted to come back to finish what they started, in their words. And then they got they got beat by Appalachian State week 1, and it
They
was
got
one of the best
demoed.
days. It was one of the best days of my life, man.
I mean, let's be honest, Jay. They've never recovered from that Appalachian State loss. Like, let's just put it out there. They have not recovered from that absolute demolition by what they thought was going to be a tune-up game. And I don't know how Harbaugh still has a job up there.
Yeah. Yes, yes, sir. But other than that, man, how was your weekend? You ended up moving. I ended up helping you move. How is that going, man?
Yeah, oh, it's going. It's still a work in progress, but we got a majority of the large items out of the house. Going to be wrapping up this coming Friday. So just got to rent another U-Haul, but for the most part, everything's in here. It looks kind of like a mini campground. There's boxes all over the place. It's a campground meets like a FEMA disaster area. So it's kind of uncontrolled chaos at this point, but it's getting there one box at a time.
Nice, nice, cool, cool. Okay, man. So the rundown of this podcast is gonna be, kind of where we're back to normal for the NFL season. We both got a couple storylines we're gonna hit on. I'm gonna hit on the Patriots win over Miami, the Buccaneers lost to the Saints, and then your two storylines were what again?
My two storylines, it's kind of interesting just to see the amount of soft tissue injuries going on in week 1 and even leading up to opening day in the NFL. And lastly, I honestly think the Steelers defense is the best defense in the NFL, and I've been saying it's a Super Bowl caliber defense, and we saw that on display Monday.
You are not lying. They looked absolutely amazing. So I'm glad that's one of your topics because I want to touch on that as well. But let's start with the first one. I watched 11 hours. Wait a minute, 11? Yeah, almost 10 hours of football on Sunday.
I was slightly jealous.
Well, do you want to tell people your
Yeah,
story?
you know what, Jay? I do want to tell people this story. Okay? All right? So
Let's hear it.
the folks out there listening, maybe if you're in the New England area, you can understand my pain if you have Xfinity. So moved into the new house, brought the cable over. I took the day off for opening day. I was excited to finally watch football because my normal work schedule is I work Sunday through Wednesday, so I don't really get a chance to see the main slate of football games, the 1 o'clock slate and the 4 o'clock slate. So I was like, all right, Jay, I'm going to take the day off. We're going to watch football. And our boy, Too Hot Bootot, Justin Bootot, he was going to watch football with us too. And cable's getting installed. I'll be there Sunday right before kickoff. Well, the cable wasn't able to be installed on Saturday because the technician that came out was a jackass and looked at the wrong pole, thought he didn't have enough wire, said he had to come back the next day. So Sunday morning, technician comes out and says, yeah, the technician was a moron. He could have did this yesterday. It's going to be at least like 2 hours for me to do this. So I'll try to get it done as quickly as possible, but yeah, I make no guarantees. So long story short, Jay, I might as well have just worked Sunday because I wasn't able to go over there until 4 o'clock. I was able to see the Saints game, the Saints Buccaneers game, and see, the Bengals and Chargers and the 49ers and Cardinals on Red Zone, but it really defeated the whole purpose of having the day off. I was so pissed. I think I did like 100 on the way to your house.
I felt bad for you because, man, the 1 o'clock games were absolutely
Oh,
dynamite,
they
man.
were freaking amazing.
Hmm.
Jay, I was so pissed, and I was trying to keep it together because like the kiddo was at the house. I'm trying to move stuff, and I'm getting pissed, and oh man, it was a bad day in Happy Land.
Well, the night before when we were sitting around at your place on Saturday night, and you said, "Yeah, the guy can't install the cable tonight. He's coming tomorrow." I knew you were not gonna get out of there
Oh,
before 4:30. I knew you're gonna miss all the 1 o'clock games because you know how these cable guys are. They don't give a fuck. They leave you hanging on edge all day long. They show up when they want to show up, and then they
uh-huh.
half-ass the job. You know.
Hmm. This
I
is
mean,
fine though. I still have like 80 hours of vacation time I need to burn. So we're gonna find another day. We're gonna find another week where there's a decent amount of games, and I'm not doing a goddamn thing. Nothing. Zero. You know
yeah.
what, Jay?
Well,
I'll camp out at your house the night before just to make sure there's no hiccups.
well, listen, we got the two TV setup going. It was absolutely awesome. We'll have one game going. We'll have going. It's absolutely awesome, man. I think Red Zone is one of the best product and innovations ever made. It's so awesome. It's so
Oh, for
great. You get
sure.
to see everything. You get to get a good glimpse of all the teams. You don't have to keep your eye on Red Zone the whole time. You can be watching your game like on a different screen. So it's awesome. It's absolutely great, man.
Oh, for sure. Especially nowadays with the extreme meteoric rise of fantasy football and daily fantasy sports as well too. Yeah, like if you don't work on a Sunday and you're doing fantasy sports, Red Zone is an absolute must. Like it is absolutely incredible. And if I didn't work on Sundays, I would have no problem handing Xfinity and the NFL office in Madison Avenue my $10 a month to watch fucking
Dude,
Red Zone.
for Spectrum, it's only $5. Did you know that?
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Price gouging from Xfinity. Nice.
Yeah. So,
It's
well,
getting bent over a barrel here, Jay. It's no problem at all.
well, listen. It sucks that you missed most of the 1 p.m. games, but one of the 1 p.m. games was your Miami Dolphins against my New England Patriots, and going into this game, I had some reservations, obviously because of our boy Tom Brady leaving, not really knowing what the offense is going to look like. Essentially kind of walking into a game that I didn't have a feel for. I didn't realize what was going to happen. So to watch that game and watch the Patriots win 21-11 over Miami, it was kind of interesting, man, because as much as things change, some things always stay the same, right?
Oh, yeah. The Dolphins laying an egg in Foxborough? Short of
Yeah.
week 17 last year? No way.
Now, I will say this win as a Patriots fan, I'm not getting too excited over because at the end of the day, I know who we were playing.
Right.
To be real with you, man, these Patriots, they beat Miami with a Pop Warner offense, right? There really was no passing attack at all. The numbers bear out that Cam Newton had 15 of 19, 155 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But the real key here was the running attack is what won us the game. Cam Newton himself was the lead rusher for us. He had 15 carries for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns, which in itself is scary, right? Because Sony Michel had 37 yards and 1 touchdown, but he looked inept. The rest of the running backs didn't look that great either. Rex Burke had 32 yards, Jay Taylor 28 yards. So while I'm excited we won the game, I am a little concerned that there really is no passing attack. I don't know if Belichick and Josh McDaniels are easing Cam into it, and I think that might be the case. But we will quickly need to find a pass attack because this upcoming week we got the real test. We got the test of the test. We got the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle with Russell Wilson looking so damn good. So listen, if I truly believe we won that game because of our Pop Warner offense that defense couldn't stop. Miami's defense couldn't stop. And then on top of that, Ryan Fitzpatrick is just as bad as it gets, man. He had 3 interceptions. I truly believe he's still the main reason we won the game.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, there's some positives I liked, and then I got to kind of weigh that out with the fact that we playing the Miami Dolphins and
Right.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, you know?
Right. Right. And like the Twitterverse, Twitter on a air quote good day is nasty. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're like me, suffering in silence because you don't have any friggin' cable in the goddamn house, you're going through Twitter seeing what the updates are, and you have people, after the Buccaneers game being like, "Oh, look at that! Bill Belichick is better than Brady. He won with Cam Newton,
Oh
and,
my
and
God.
Tom Brady laid an egg." And it's like, okay, all right, let's pop the brakes, okay? I'm going to give Brady the benefit of the doubt because it's a new offense. His offense, the Buccaneers as a whole was not that great. Mike Evans did not do him any goddamn favors. And two, like you said, you were playing the Dolphins. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
playing my team. Like the only shining player on the defensive side of the football, not named Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, which really isn't saying a whole lot because the scoreboard. But really was Christian Wilkins. Like beyond that, the defense for the Dolphins did not show up at all. So I think the real test is can Cam Newton maintain what he did against the Miami Dolphins? Like you said, this week on the road in Seattle, a lot tougher defense as a whole. If he's able to do what he did on the ground and then maybe get, like, let's say, what would you say, a fair stat line through the
Listen,
air? 250 yards, a touchdown, and maybe a pick
we
with
need.
two rushing touchdowns? Like, I think that would be a good day. If he's able to do that, then I'll start buying all right, maybe Bill Belichick and Cam Newton have something going here.
Yeah, listen, I think the next 3 weeks are going to give us a good indication of what this Patriots team is going to be. We got the Seattle Seahawks, we've got the Raiders, and then we got the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to know very quickly within 3 weeks what this team is. Now, at the end of the day, Cam Newton, what I expect to see out of him this week is we're going to see less than 15 carries because he just ran for 15 carries. He had against the Miami Dolphins. If he keeps that pace up, he's going to be a broken man in about 3 weeks. He's going to be torn up. You can't keep up this pace at 15 carries per game. I expect maybe 5 to 6 carries, rushes for Cam Newton, and then probably I would say amp up the passing attack. The issue is we haven't already passed to. We got Julian Edelman, and then we've got the worst wide receiver in the NFL by the name of N'Keal Harry, who is a piece of shit. I'm over him. I'm done with him. He is soft. He makes mistakes, and I fucking hate his guts. It was so bad at one point, and I was watching this with Juice. N'Keal Harry has the ball, has a full head of steam, and he gets knocked out by a cornerback. And this cornerback was 50 pounds lighter and like 5 inches shorter. N'Keal Harry is 6'3", 220, 230. This cornerback was like 5'8" and like 180 pounds, and he absolutely decked N'Keal Harry. He's
Yep.
soft. He doesn't fight for the ball. He has no tenacity. He doesn't run the routes crisply. He's just a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. Fuck him.
Wow. Is Gunnar Olszewski on IR or was he not active Sunday?
I didn't see much of him. I don't know. He was not on IR. He just didn't play much at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm with you, Jay. If on those 2 touchdown runs, let's be honest here. He kind of took a beating going to the goal line, and if he's gonna, this is Cam Newton. He's built like a brick shit house. He's like what, like almost 7 foot tall. He's like 6.5 feet. And like 200, 240, 260 pounds, somewhere around there. Like he's built, he's thick, but if he's going to keep taking hits like that, man, he's not going to make it 16 games. You got to find an aerial attack somehow. Now, real quick, before we wrap up on the Pats, I'm kind of invested in Damian Harris in fantasy football. Are we going to finally see the Damian Harris experiment when he comes off of IR after week 3? Or is this just a pipe dream? Like, what does your gut tell you?
Stash him.
Yeah.
Stash him for now. But the way Sony Michel's playing and how bad he's playing, I think we'll definitely see Damian Harris at some point, man. It's just I just don't understand how we have such a depleted roster. It's a different story for a different day, but I'm looking at this roster and I'm like, how are we going to win? Like, I understand we won against the Dolphins, but like this upcoming week, we're going to be exposed. Like, it's going to be exposed on the national stage, and quickly that narrative is going to switch about Belichick being a genius and, the Brady experiment, blah, blah, whatever people are saying. Like, it's going to be bad Sunday night, man.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when Russell Wilson's out there just lighting people up, and luckily we're playing Ryan Fitzpatrick. But dude, that defense had issues as well. Stephon Gilmore didn't really look that good. He had some pretty costly penalties and issues. The front seven got pressure sometimes, but still it was more an issue of the offensive line for the Dolphins not being in sync. It's just I'm fearing Sunday night. I really am, bro.
Yeah, you know what the funny thing, we'll get to this more in the game preview, but right now, as of recording on September 16th, the Pats, they're only 4-point dogs on the road. Like they're
Take that. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Take that. I'm taking Seattle to win by 10, man.
Oh, okay. So you're taking Seattle to win to cover.
Yeah, I'm taking Seattle to cover. I think 4 is generous. I think 4 is just the Belichick factor and is mystique and aura. But we're not going up there and winning by. We're not going up there and losing by 3 points. We're gonna lose by 7 or more.
Gotcha. We'll get to more of that in the game preview, of course, too. Jay, what's your second point, too?
So the second point that I want to get to is, and I think you kind of hit on this, man. Like the storyline that I have here is essentially, the Buccaneers losing to the Saints. The Buccaneers lost 34-23, and you can see it, man. You can see on Twitter, you can see on Instagram, the hate for Brady is real. Oh my God, those memes came out so quick, like people had them on speed dial or some shit, right?
My favorite was Brady looking as a Karen with the
Oh, that was good. That was good.
That one was good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, but I think people really need to put their hate aside for a second and look at what happened. I think I went into this game thinking, me being the biggest Brady fan there is, even I knew there's just absolutely no way you're winning this game. You're coming off of a season where you've had no, off season, you've had no training camp, you're getting thrown into the Superdome with one of the top 3 teams in the NFC, and a lot of people's picks to go to the Super Bowl. Like, you've got to be objective here, man. This was expected, right? If you say it out loud, if you really think about what just happened, and you think the Bucs are crappy because they lost to a top 3 team in the NFC without a preseason and short off season, then you're just crazy. You're just a hater for what it is. Now, the game itself, now Brady himself, listen, I think he didn't have his best day, but I don't think he had as bad of a day as he did, as people make it out to be. He had one really bad throw that was late and behind on an out route that was a pick 6, but for the most part, his other pick was an issue on Mike Evans' end, right? That's something Arians confirmed yesterday. But I was pleasantly surprised at some of the amazing deep throws that he made and how accurate they were. I think one of the biggest questions we had going into the season was, can he really go out there and run that aerial attack that Bruce Arians has been? I think he can. I think he looked absolutely great. Now, the biggest issue besides that was the fact that the whole team, top to bottom, played bad for the Buccaneers. It's not just on Brady, and I think this is where Arians has to look himself in the mirror. I think Arians did not have this team ready to play, man. Their offensive line played bad. Their special teams gave up a blunder. They gave the ball over. The defense didn't look that great either. It was bad coaching in my mind. The plays they called were pretty non-imaginative, no real creativity there. So this isn't just simply a Brady sucks and Arians and the Saints and the Buccaneers look great. Now, on the other end, though, I'll quickly wrap this up and give it to you. As bad as the Buccaneers look, though, man, I am a little concerned about Drew Brees.
Dude, the Saints, yo, dude, like the Saints won, not to step on it, the Saints won because of defense, and that's shocking because historically the Saints have always been slow out the gate. And the defense really carried the day. Drew Brees, I'm sure you're going to hit on this. I don't think he threw a pass more than 10 yards down the field.
Well, one of my notes here is Brady pushed the ball downfield. Brees didn't even look down the field. He didn't look past 10 years past the line of scrimmage, right? And it reminds me of that Kirk Cousins or the Jimmy G situation where the coaching staff really doesn't believe in them, doesn't really let them open up the game plan or the playbook. They actively go out of their way to restrict their playmaking abilities, way too aggressive running attack. Like, I'm just seeing these things. I'm thinking to myself, I truly think that the Breeze and that Saints offense should look much better. Should look how Brady and the Buccaneers looked, minus the turnovers. They should look like they're pushing the ball downfield, have some sort of continuity. But I just didn't see any of that at all.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jay, 2 things. One, I've said this podcast a while ago, probably like 20 episodes ago, that I think we're starting to see the end of Drew Brees. Like the guy, when I said that, wasn't pushing the ball down the field. And I mean, it was blatantly obvious on Sunday. Like, I don't know if it was because Michael Thomas got dinged up. Like, I don't know what happened. But even before Thomas hurt his ankle, he was not looking past 10 yards. Like he was not
Mm-hmm.
looking past the sticks. Everything was dump offs to Kamara. I think the farthest pass we saw was when Taysom Hill was in the game. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all joking aside with our boy Too Hot Boots Hot and how, Taysom Hill can do everything, and every time he touches the football he gets like plus 25 yards in the line score. Like, it was on display Sunday. Like, Breeze was not doing he did not bad. Like, he looked bad. He did not look great at all. And if the defense was historically like they were in the past, this might have been a shootout, or possibly the Tampa Bay might have pulled it off, despite all the errors that Brady had. It was
Mm-hmm.
bad. Like, I don't care.
Well, I mean, listen, when you have 18 completions on 30 attempts and 160 yards and 2 touchdowns, for being the Hall of Fame quarterback that you are, I think you've really got to look at Drew Brees, man. And if I'm your boy up there in New Hampshire, oh God, I'm forgetting his name right now,
Josh.
Haitian who that?
Yeah.
If I'm him, I'm worried right now. I'm thinking maybe you start Taysom Hill, you start looking
Mm-hmm.
at Jameis Winston, because this is the first time I've seen Drew Brees look skittish, look scared. Maybe that's just not having the confidence of the coaching staff, but he was not looking downfield whatsoever. And it's funny because on the other end, you had Tom Brady airing it out. We're the ones that thought that Tom Brady was going to be the one that was going to be able to air it out and throw the ball downfield, but it seemed like the roles were reversed on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And real quick, just to wrap up on Tampa Bay, I mean, I was on here saying that the hype surrounding them was reminding me of the Cleveland Browns of last year. Whatever, it's pull the receipts, you can check the tape. But what I will say is this: is I'm giving Brady and I'm giving Arians the benefit of the doubt, despite the fact that BA was just throwing Tom Brady headfirst under the Greyhound.
Yeah, who the hell does Brian? Who the hell fuck does BA think he is?
Immediately after the game, and then I think he doubled down at one point on Monday, and then Monday night he started to walk the comments back. But I'll say this much: if the offensive line, I know there's a rookie on there, in Tristan
Tristan
Wirfs.
Wirfs.
If we're still getting the same offensive line play, and the defense is still on track to be the most penalized defense in the NFL for the second year in a row by week 4 or 5, like, the panic meter for me is going to start going up to about like a 5 or a 6, only because this is probably one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL. And it's not that now's not the time to come out slow out the gate. Like, you got to, everybody's got to tighten up for sure. And if it's still like this by week 4 or 5, I don't know, man.
But no, listen, but I think it will be. I mean, if you look at let's take and I looked at this. I looked at the stats for Peyton Manning and when he went to Denver. He started out 2-3. He didn't look that
Mm-hmm.
good. He looked just like Brady looked. I mean, essentially, they looked sloppy. They looked like they weren't in sync. But after that 5-6 week period, they went on an 11-game winning streak. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what we're going to see here. We're going to see by week 5, we're still going to see this team gelling, man. You've got to give them the fact that they even have a preseason, and the Broncos team did have a preseason and preseason games. Like, I mean, that's big. You had a full offseason as well. So I truly believe this team is not going to look good or up to their potential maybe until, I would say, week 6, week 7. So at that point, let's hope it's not too late. But the fact that there's a seventh playoff team really helps these guys out.
Oh, for sure.
This is a year where it's not going to look that great. I do expect it to be better next year, but you're going to have to ride the ship out for the next few weeks with this team.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. It's definitely going to be something to watch for sure. Real quick, I'll get to my points, and then we'll get to game preview. Right off the bat, just to dovetail to what you said about, no off-season, no preseason games, it's become blatantly obvious that, despite everybody bitching and moaning about preseason games and training camp and the ramp-up period, it would have helped a lot of these players to be a little bit more conditioned, only because the amount of soft tissue injuries and like non-contact injuries that are occurring has been unreal. I mean, we saw it last week before we recorded with Von Miller having a season-ending injury with his ankle on the last play of practice. Marlon Mack blew an Achilles out. A lot of people, Mike Evans of the Buccaneers, are having hamstring issues. That is definitely something to keep an eye out. Especially for like fantasy football purposes and in real life football. Like, if your studs are not able to be on the field because they haven't had enough time to be conditioned and get up to game speed and game reps and whatnot, this could be a real potential problem. Like, not only was the practice squad increased because of COVID, but you have to figure in your back of your mind that a lot of these head coaches and owners that lived through the lockout in 2011 and saw what the football looked like for that year, with a lot of people having blown Achilles and soft tissue injuries, they don't want a repeat of that as well either. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I think the weightlifting and training staff of these teams are definitely going to be earning their pay this year for sure. And I mean, Mike Evans probably didn't belong on the football field Sunday running routes on one leg with how bad his hamstring sounded leading into this game.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you 100%, man. The fact that we have no off season is really, and the fact that COVID kind of didn't allow for an off season program, I think is really kind of showing its ugly head right now. If I'm a player, man, like it's hard to go from not doing much at all, and as much as we say they went through some sort of training camp, you're never really going to be full speed. You never really get that full speed in training camp. So I think you're right here, man. You have to keep an eye on that. And if I'm a player, I'm getting ready as much as possible. I'm stretching as much as possible, getting those fluids in me, and I'm just hoping for the best because there's nothing you can do now. All you can do is just kind of ride it through and see if you can work yourself into game shape in about 3-4 weeks.
Yep, exactly. I mean, look at Marlon Mack. I mean, he was going into
Returner to Mac.
return of the Mack. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, he's going into a contract year next year, and there were a lot of expectations that he was going to have possibly a career year on the ground for Indianapolis. And homeboy blew his Achilles out on either the second or third drive of the game, and it's just shit like that happens, and it's like not only is it affecting your season, but we're talking about a blown Achilles. Like that, it's 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Medicine has come a long way, but that's still not a full guarantee. Not everybody's going to bounce back like Emmanuel Sanders did last year. Like, he might be done for the rest of his career, depending on how rehab goes. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on. And finally, my second point, then we'll get into game preview, is I've been on the Steelers bandwagon since the offseason podcast with Mikey P when we did our way too early predictions. I doubled down on this team last week with the Pittsburgh Steelers going to the Super Bowl because of their defense and Big Ben, and that defense was on display on Monday against the New York Football Giants. And yes, the Giants' offensive line was bad, but man, the amount of playmakers that the Steelers have on the defensive side of the football is unreal. I don't know if you're able to put bets on Defensive Player of the Year, but if you can and you can find Bud Dupree at great odds, I would definitely jump on that in a cocaine heartbeat. That guy was all over the backfield. He was just mauling anybody on that offensive line. He was eating Andrew Thomas's lunch. He hit Daniel Jones after a 19 play drive, got the Giants down to the 4-yard line. DJ rolls out, tries to hit Evan Ingram in the back of the end zone, and Dupree hit him while he was throwing the football, caused an interception, and that basically sealed the game. They were all over the place, and this defense is for real. I think they are the best defense in the NFL, followed by the Buffalo Bills, and the New England Patriots. No shade to them, despite all the opt-outs, they're definitely top 5. But the creme de la creme is the black and gold that Mike Tomlin has going for him.
Listen, I want to agree with you. I was watching that game, Monday Night Football, between the Steelers and the Giants, and I was absolutely floored. I have never seen a defensive performance that dominant in years. I'm talking probably 10 plus years, man. And you start looking at some of these names, man. You got Edmonds, you got Joe Hayden, you got Devin Bush, you got Bud Dupree, who was an absolute stud. You got Minka Fitzpatrick coming over from your boys, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, man. It's just studs all over the spot. Now, like I said, I don't know if this is the fact that this defense is absolutely dynamite or that offensive line is absolute crap. So I'm going to hold, my reservations and my judgment until I see them play a better team. I really want to see how they're going to fare against the Ravens. But dude, off the top of my head, I can't remember the last time this defense looks that good. This reminds me of the old school Steelers teams with with Porter and Troy Polamalu and all those guys. Essentially, they made the best look. They made the best running back in the NFL look like absolute crap. Like Saquon Barkley had 15 carries for 6 yards. It was atrocious for a while there.
He
He was
had negative
negative.
three
Yeah.
yards after first contact.
Yeah, listen, I can't say any more complimentary things of this defense that came out on the field on Monday night. It's just absolutely amazing. On the Giants side, I was pleasantly surprised at this Darius Slayton kid, man. I think he looks pretty good. He might be a baller, but other than that, there was not many bright spots because of that defense. Now, one last thing on the Steelers offense itself, I was pleasantly surprised. I was surprised that Big Ben came out and threw 3 touchdowns and had 229 yards and essentially Juju Smith-Schuster came alive, and that kid
Mm-hmm.
Deontay Johnson, big fan of Deontay Johnson, number 18. He
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of Antonio Brown with his shiftiness and his quickness. So I think the Steelers with their resurgence in the offensive end and that amazing defense are gonna make some serious noise. I think I want to see how they play against the Ravens because that'll be a fun matchup. But if they can get through the Ravens, they're probably gonna win that division.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and you know what? It wasn't pretty at the beginning. Like, Big Ben, the rust definitely did show. But as the game went on, he felt a little bit more comfortable. The timing came back. And I mean, we've been saying this since the beginning. Like, Claypool getting drafted, being a big body on the outside, and
Mm-hmm.
being able to kick Juju Smith Schuster back into the slot, his more natural position, the guy thrived. And I think, no shade to Juju. Every Batman needs his Robin, and if Claypool was going to be his Robin on the outside, whatever gets the job done, especially going into a contract year for Juju, like this guy is going to ball out, and I think he's going to be a top 10 wide receiver in the league this year for sure.
Yep. Cool. All right, well, let's move on to the game previews. It is a wonderful sight that tomorrow night is Thursday night football. I'm sitting around here trying to think, what am I going to do besides the podcast? Am I going to watch some sports? Nothing is going on. So tomorrow night, we got Thursday night football. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals going up to the Cleveland Browns. So last week the Browns, they
Dude,
they they did not
demoed.
show up. Oh,
Demoed.
they got rolled the fuck over by the Baltimore Ravens. The final score was 38-6, but I think it should have been like a 45-0 final score. It was just absolutely atrocious. Now, it seems as if Baker Mayfield picked up right where he left off from last year. He looked absolutely out of sync. He was throwing behind late. His numbers were 189 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. He's not looking where he's supposed to be looking. He's jumping out of the offense. He's doing his own thing. And we can always make that argument. Hey, well, he's learning a new offense. He'll be all right. But when you're throwing behind late and you're like, not going through your progressions, then that's just a you suck problem. It's a new offense issue.
Right.
I think I was fairly emphatic on my stance on Baker Mayfield in the beginning of the year and how I think he's going to be on a short leash. If he loses this week to the Bengals on national TV and he doesn't look good, I'm out. And I think most of America is going to be out as well. He's never going to be able to relive being on national TV and looking like absolute trash.
And it's not
Uh,
like the Bengals are trash either, dude. Like
mhm,
Joe Burrow ran that 2 minute
mhm,
offense. And I
mhm.
know you're probably going to touch on this real quick. I didn't mean to steal your
No, go for
thunder,
it.
but like he ran that 2 minute offense to get them within field goal range. And let's be honest, it would have been a touchdown if it wasn't a ticky tack passing interference on AJ Green. He ran that 2 minute offense like he was a seasoned veteran, like he belonged in the NFL. This is
Dude,
not going to be a pushover on
I,
Thursday night.
I was blown away at how well Joe Burrow's looked, man. Like at the end of the day, you just mentioned it. The Bengals lost 16-13 on a last-second missed field goal, but Joe Burrow looked absolutely amazing. He took them down the field when they needed to be taken down the field at the end. He put them in position for that field goal. Unfortunately, the kicker, missed it, and he pretended like he blew out his Achilles, which I would do the same exact thing if I missed it that badly. I'm like, come on, bro.
Oh, for sure.
But I liked a lot what I saw from the Bengals in Week 1, man. Like I think I haven't seen this amount of tenacity and vigor since those Carson Palmer, T.O., Ocho Cinco days, right? And I truly believe this has a lot to do with the Joe Burrow swagger effect that he puts on the team.
Oh my
Uh,
God, yes. Everybody's buying in. I'm not even a Bengals fan, Jay. Like I sit there. I mean, we sit outside having a cigar, and it's like every now and then I try to catch myself doing a pose of like Joe
Uh-huh.
Burrow after the national
Uh-huh.
championship. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the dude oozes confidence and swagger, and
Yeah.
it's contagious.
Listen, I was a big fan of him at Ohio State. Obviously, I was a big fan of him at LSU. I was hoping he would do well. He is from essentially the same area I'm from in Ohio, and I'm rooting for the guy, man. I think right now I would rather have a Joe Burrow with all the potential than a Baker Mayfield right now, with everything that we know about Baker Mayfield. What's your thoughts on that?
I would buy that, and I'm gonna do the same metric of what I gave with Tom Brady. If we're still seeing the same BS Baker with the reads and the progressions. And some people say, well, a lot of it was he was forcing the ball to Odell, and yeah, there's some truth in that. But if we're at week 4, week 5, and this team's not competitive, and they keep rolling a donut, and he's still showing rookie mistakes going into his 3rd season. If I'm the front office and I'm Kevin Stefanski, I might think about getting my own guy in there, not just Case Keenum for the rest of the season, but like my own quarterback that would fit my system better
Mm-hmm.
moving forward in the long term, because you're only as good as your franchise quarterback. And if this is your first coaching job, and the guy may or may not be a bust, do you really want to hitch your wagon to that and buy a ticket on the Titanic? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but no, I'm with you.
Well,
I would take Joe Burrow in the cocaine heartbeat right now.
well, what are you thinking? You're thinking maybe 2 more bad games and they start looking at Case Keenum?
I think week 5. I think if they're not competitive or he's not showing signs of growth in this new offense by week 4, week 5 for sure. I think week 6 we see Case Keenum take it.
What's your thoughts on this whole OBJ trade rumor bullshit?
I'm not buying it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, his stock is at the lowest. I mean, I sent you Benjamin Albright's tweet. He covers the Denver Broncos and works for Pro Football Network. He confirmed through his sources that whatever the PFN New England was putting out, or Pro Football Focus New England rather, that he shot it down, and it makes sense. Like,
Well, I think it was Mike Francesa that put it out
oh,
first.
and that's the thing too, is Mike
It's Mike
Francesa.
Francesa.
He's not in the news breaking
Yeah,
business.
he's kind of a joke himself, isn't
Yeah,
he?
Mike Francesa, legend in radio, but not in the news breaking business at all. What are you going to get for him? Like, he's at his lowest value. He's always in the news, and in this case, for loving number 2. I mean, what
What
are
does
you going
that
to get
mean?
for him? Hmm?
What does that mean?
Oh, he likes people taking a dump on him. Uh,
Ah, a
li-
Cleveland Steamer,
literally,
huh?
literally.
He
But
wants to.
I mean, what are you going to get? Like, what are you going to get for this guy? Like a 4th round pick at that?
You believe
He,
that though, man? You believe he actually likes getting a poop on his face?
we're 50 minutes into this podcast. I don't want to bog this down with Odell poop conspiracy theories, but I'll say, and I said this to you off air, that it might not be true,
Mm-hmm.
but because of how outlandish he is, it's really hard to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Interesting. Interesting. So his reputation precedes him, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
I don't know, man. I just find it hard to believe that Odell gets his rocks off by people taking dumps on him.
Anywho, on that note, I think we covered the game preview for the Bengals Browns.
Oh, we got to cover it from all angles, especially the poop angle.
Yeah, the poop angle. Well, we're going to go to the odds angle, and the odds of Pro Football Radio podcast is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. We're not officially, affiliated with them, but this is our go-to draft book. So deal with it. The Bengals are 6-point underdogs. I don't know why. I'm taking the Bengals to win, and I'm also,
You're taking the Bengals to win?
oh yeah,
Nice.
they're +6. I'm taking the points, but I might put some shekels down on the money line for sure.
Okay. That's nice. That's nice. All right, let's move on next to the
Hey,
Houston.
who do you got? Did you say your pick?
Yeah. I'm taking
Bengals?
the Cleveland Browns
Oh,
17-14 because I just don't think you can lose this game. I think you cannot lose this game on national TV to a rookie quarterback in Joe Burrow, especially when you have all that talent on your end. And I missed one point. Where was Myles Garrett in that defense? Where was Myles Garrett, one of the highest paid defensive ends? Guy that got suspended for what 6 games last year, wherever the number was. That defense and Myles Garrett were absolutely nowhere to be found. They could barely get their fingers on the Ravens, and it was just absolute trash.
Yeah, well, he couldn't hit people with the helmet, so
That's true. Yeah, I guess that takes down your tackling ability, huh?
a little bit.
when they're not unconscious, it's hard to tackle them, right?
Exactly, exactly. All right, what's the next game?
We got the Houston Texans versus the Baltimore Ravens. It should be a good game. Now, listen, I have last week the Houston Texans lost 34
Oh
to
my
20. What happened?
Oh God, I was a dumbass that took them
Same here.
plus 10,
Same
and the over under.
You know
The
what's
over
funny, man?
under actually push.
You know what's funny? Houston Texans are becoming the Atlanta Falcons. You know what I'm saying? You think
Mm,
they should be better than they are, and they will pop up here and there, but against the good teams, man, like they're not it. Listen, I went into the season saying Deshaun Watson, it's a make or break a year for him, right? And he didn't look good one bit, man. He had what 253 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, and it's especially hard when you look on the other end, you see Patrick Mahomes absolutely lighting it up. But even further from Deshaun Watson, man, like I didn't like anything I saw from Houston in Week 1. Like their rushing was pedestrian. Their defense was not that good. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. In regards to the rushing, what was it? David Johnson. He only had 77 yards and a touchdown. And now
and then
you get
he got digged up. He hurt
yeah,
his wrist.
yep, yep. And you look like trash, and now you get to play the best or second best team in the NFL, depending who you ask. Now, listen, the Ravens are no joke, man. Like I think this might be a long day for the Houston Texans. Um, we don't have to go through all these stats because the Ravens absolutely annihilated the Cleveland Browns. But some of the highlights: Lamar Jackson, sensational, picked up where he left off from last year. I think he actually was better this game with his accuracy and his arm. He actually only ran it 7 times, but he had 3 touchdowns and 275 yards. The running attack is great as it was last year. I like the emergence of J.K. Dobbins, who had 2 touchdowns. He's my boy from Ohio State. The defense looks stout, and I think they'll continue to have success against the Texans. Give them the Ravens, man, and give them the Ravens big, actually. I'm thinking like a 14-point win because I have absolutely no faith in Deshaun Watson and the Texans anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say I'm pulling up the line if I could find it. I actually just had it. So Baltimore's favored by 7 points.
Mm.
Uh, I'm with you. I think Baltimore wins. Like you said, I think the issue on Thursday night was Bill O'Brien was trying to make it a point to prove that he's the smartest guy in the room, and he won the DeAndre Hopkins, David Johnson trade, which certainly wasn't the case because DeAndre Hopkins had a career day on Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers. But he really force-fed the ball to DJ, David Johnson. Will Fuller looked good, though.
Mm.
And the Fuller to Watson connection is real. We've seen that in the past. I'm going to go – I'm with you. Like I said, I have Baltimore winning the game. I'm feeling a little froggy with this. I'm going to go back to the well. I'm going to take Houston plus 7. I'm going to take – I think they're going to cover. I think they're going to cover the spread this game. Give me some of Houston plus 7. I'm feeling a little froggy barking with the dogs this week.
All right. Now, listen, man, more power to you, brother, man. Next up, Dallas versus Atlanta.
Jerry World!
Last week, Dallas. Speaking of which, last week Dallas lost to the Rams. SoFi Stadium is absolutely beautiful, man. Did you see that?
Oh man, absolute thing of beauty. It's probably like the 8th or 9th wonder of the world. Kroenke definitely got what he paid for because it's beautiful, and he paid for the whole goddamn building because Stamkos or whatever his name is, owner of the Chargers, did not foot the bill at all either.
Steve Spanos.
Spanos, yeah, no. Kroenke got what he paid for.
So the most expensive stadium in the NFL was about $2 billion before the Rams stadium came through. Now, you would think it would be in the ballpark of $2 billion, but you'd be wrong. So you want to venture a guess into how much it would cost?
It's over $2 billion?
Yep.
4.5?
$5 billion.
Why do I feel like it went over budget too?
It did. Oh yeah, by quite a bit. But I mean, I see though. I mean, you look at that thing and you're just amazed at how beautiful that stadium is. But the game itself. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys going out to Los Angeles to play the Rams. So listen, the Dallas Cowboys lost 2017. They lost on some last-second controversy where essentially Jalen Ramsey became the highest-paid actor in Hollywood. The guy flopped like no other, and it was absolutely hilarious. The memes were great, right?
Help me cover the spread. It kept my parlay alive. So I'll take it. All right. I'll take it any way I can get it, my man.
So even though Dallas ended up losing, I did learn a few things. I did learn that Zeke is an absolute machine this year, man. Some of the pictures that came out before the season, he looked lean, and that really showed on the field. He looked explosive as hell. He looked like that Zeke in the first couple of years down in Dallas. He ended up with 96 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. But for the most part, I did like what I saw out of Mike McCarthy, man. He got Zeke involved. He got Amari Cooper his catches. And even though some of those defensive players they took in the draft, I feel like they kind of hit on those as well, because some of those guys came through with Trayvon Diggs making some big plays and everything else. And the one guy that didn't really show up or didn't have much of a contribution was CeeDee Lamb. I wish he would have gotten involved some more. But for the most part, I kind of like what I saw out of Dallas. Now on the other end, Atlanta. I don't know, man. It's a typical Atlanta loss. You put up tons of yards, but you still somehow lose. Um, Stats wise, Matt Ryan had 450 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, for God's sakes, Julio Jones had 157 yards, Calvin Ridley had 130, Russell Cage had 114. But it's a typical Atlanta Falcons loss. You throw up some impressive numbers, you're never really in the game, you're kind of a laughing stock, and they lost 38-25 to the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what to make of this Falcons team just yet. It's a little too early. I'm leaning towards it probably going to be, trash again. So I'm taking the home team, Dallas Cowboys 2014.
Uh, They're in Jerry World. I'll say this real quick. Blake Jarwin, the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, he's
For the year.
done for the year with a torn ACL. To your point about CeeDee Lamb, it would have been nice to see a little bit more out of him on opening night. But I will say this, after Blake Jarwin went out, he did make a couple of big plays. I think moving forward, because there's less mouths to feed because he blew his knee out, CeeDee Lamb, I think, is going to be a thing moving forward in this offense. I think this is a type of offense that could support three wide receivers in, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. I think if fantasy football purposes, if you're able to get CeeDee Lamb on the cheap, if he's not on waivers, now might be the chance, especially going into this Atlanta Falcons game where, like you said, Jay, this offense is stout. Like, they can put up points all day, but this defense, the biggest knock that they've had ever since they went to the Super Bowl is they can't stop a nosebleed, and they don't have a whole lot of depth. Like, they're one injury away from this entire defense to come tumbling down like a house of cards. So if you're able to get CeeDee Lamb on the cheap, I suggest you jump on that again on a cocaine heartbeat. But pick wise, we're in Jerry World. I think this could be a get right game here. I just had the spread here. Dallas is favored by 4.5. Give me the Cowboys and give me the Cowboys to cover the spread pretty handily as well too.
Give me them boys. All right, cool, man. Next up, the Patriots versus Seattle. We kind of talked about the Patriots that lent up front, so we're gonna have to rehash all that. On the Seattle side, now they
let Russ cook. They let Russ cook.
They did let Russ cook. I did. I was very impressed, and I was surprised to see that. He was 31 of 35, 322 and 4 touchdowns. So we have 4 touchdowns and 4 incompletions. That's absolutely wonderful, right? So all is well on the offensive end. On the defensive end, I think there's a little bit of an issue there because, Matt Ryan was absolutely able to torch that defense through the air. They gave up 450 yards in the air. Now, for the Patriots, they're going to have to try to match that. And unfortunately, we don't think the Patriots can match that aerial attack just yet. They're going to have to run the ball. But looking at the trends coming out of that Falcons game for Seattle, they were able to stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass, but they kept Todd Gurley in check for 56 yards. They had Brian Hill for 12 yards. So I don't think the Patriots are going to be able to run the ball. They're going to have to throw the ball. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they got down big and the Falcons had to throw the ball. But from the glimpses that I've seen, the highlights that I've seen, and breaking out some of the tape, that Seattle defense is something you can't run on, but you could throw on. So I don't think the Patriots are going to be able to essentially throw on that defense. I don't think they'll be able to run on the defense as well. I'm calling it like a 24-14 win for
I'm with
Seattle.
you. I'm with you. I'm taking Seattle with the victory here. Like part of me, Jay, part of me wants to take New England to cover the spread at 4 points, but like I just unless we're magically going to see a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde out of N'Keal Harry,
Oh my God.
I don't see it happening. I mean, the tight end position is still a massive abyss ever since Gronk left. N'Keal Harry has massively failed expectations. And let's be honest, I mean, Julian Edelman, he's getting up there in age. That's no shade against him. He's been an absolute stud during his NFL career. But I mean, every week he's been going in dinged up with the knee injury. And if they're just going to roll coverage to him and force Cam Newton to, place his bet with N'Keal Harry, this aerial attack does not scare me at all. Unless they're just going to do dump off passes to James White. I'm with you, man. I'm taking Seattle to win this game, and give me Seattle the points as well too. I think Seattle covers this pretty easily as well.
I just don't understand how we got to this point where we're so flagrantly deprived of talent on the offensive end. Like it's a miracle. Looking back, and I guess perception a year later is a good thing. But looking back, man, I'm sorry, perspective. Like looking back, I don't understand how Tom Brady took this team to be 12-4. I don't understand that because that defense, yeah, it was good against bad competition last year when they were 8-0, but then they couldn't stop nobody. Like the second they started playing good talent, it was pretty bad. So I don't know, man. I don't understand how Bill Belichick, the GM, let this get so bad. We have no tight ends. We have no receivers besides Julian Edelman and maybe James White. I don't know, man. I think we're looking at a pretty bad night in Seattle, man.
Yep. I'm with you too, and my biggest fear, Jay, is because of the success Cam had on the ground, is he's going to feel a little froggy and he's going to be pushing the envelope. And here comes Bobby Wagner, and he's gonna knock Cam on his ass. And not only is Bobby Wagner there, you have Jamal Adams that's looking to prove a point of, hey, I got traded to a defense that, we're trying to rebuild the Legion of Boom here. How can I, put an exclamation point on this by knocking Cam Newton on his ass if he's trying to roll out of the pocket? I think I'm with you. It is going to be a long day up at the Emerald City.
Yeah, it'll be a fun game to watch, though, man. It'll be
Oh,
awesome
for
to see.
sure. It's going to be black and blue football, man. That's going to be great.
Well, my biggest fear is Cam Newton gets knocked out and then Brian Hoyer season starts.
Hey, who knows? Who knows?
Okay, last night, the last game we're going to pick is the New Orleans Saints versus Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football. The Raiders are opening up their new stadium, also known as the Death Star.
Yes.
That thing looks absolutely amazing. The only issue I have with that stadium is fucking Allegiant sponsors that.
Hey, there's a reason why the airfare is cheap. They had to sponsor a stadium, my man.
Yeah. So we talked about the Saints in the A block. To give you guys a quick rundown, Saints won 34-23 over the Buccaneers. I think both of us are concerned about the fact that Sean Payton doesn't seem to have trust in Drew Brees. That Saints defense did look okay. They were giving the Bucs offense all they could handle, but then again, it could just be the fact that the Bucs offense is still trying to find their way. So still not really sure on that end, and that's probably the issue here. Is it's only week one. We don't have much more concrete evidence than just one week. On the other end, the Raiders, they beat the Panthers 34-30. I was watching that with my buddy Juice. He was absolutely losing his mind because he thought they were gonna win, and then somehow last second Derek Carr gets them the win. Derek Carr ended up with 239 yards, 1 touchdown. Joshua Jacobs had a good running attack day. He had 93 yards and 3 touchdowns, so great for fantasy owners. And then I was impressed with Henry Ruggs. I think he had some great routes. He got a little banged up, but I just saw that speed, man. Like you just can't teach that speed when he's running away from cornerbacks. So I still don't know what to make of the Raiders as well just yet. So because of that, give me the Saints 24-17.
Gotcha. I'm with you. I think this is going to be a get right game for the Saints offense. I mean, let's be honest, the defense of the Raiders doesn't really scare you that much. I mean, Max Crosby is an absolute stud that Mike Mayock found. I believe it was in the third or fourth round out of Central Michigan or something like that. Jonathan Abram is going to be a beast in the secondary at the safety position. But, I mean, beyond that, this really doesn't scare you. And even if Michael Thomas may or may not be out of this game with a high ankle sprain, he might miss the next couple of weeks, or he might try to gut it out. I think you're going to see a lot more dynamic play calling out of Sean Payton. I would not be surprised if you see Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara on the field at the same time, with maybe Kamara lined up in the slot a little bit more because of the Michael Thomas injury. I think this is a get-right game. I love the Vegas Raiders. But I don't think this is going to be a victory in their new stadium on Monday Night Football. Give me the Saints, and give me the Saints covering as well. They're 6-point favorites at this point. Like I said, I think this is a get-right game. And if you have Alvin Kamara, I think you're going to be in a good spot for fantasy football this week.
Yeah. Real quick, and we didn't put this into our notes, so there's not much. I guess there are not many notes on this one. But what's your thoughts on that Rams game going across country to play the Philadelphia Eagles? I mean, it's interesting to watch the Eagles blow a 17-0 lead to the Washington Redskins. And I'm not gonna lie to you, our boy Carson Wentz didn't look that good. He did not look that good. And the Rams, on the other hand, I think the Rams look pretty good, man. I was impressed what I saw out of those guys week one. I do have the Rams winning this, but what's your thoughts on the fact that there's some issues there with quarterback in Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts sitting behind Carson Wentz?
I would see. Here's my thing: is this offensive line was brutal at all game. Like they were brutal all day, and not to take anything away from Washington. I mean, they have a bunch of first-round draft picks on that.
But that defensive line is probably the best defensive line in the NFL, though, right?
Exactly. And Lane Johnson was not in this game. Peter, I'm forgetting his first name, but Peters, he just came back. Jason Peters, he kind of had a rough day. I'm going to be honest, I'm not that concerned at the moment. Like we just said, it's the best defensive line. I think any quarterback behind this offensive line was going to have a very long day at the office, especially with a dinged-up Jalen Reagor going into this game. No Miles Sanders because of injury. They really didn't have a running game at all. They were not balanced at all. I think Carson went through the football north of 40 times in this game. I think this is going to be an interesting game. If Lane Johnson doesn't play, I think it's going to be another rough day at the office, especially with Aaron Donald on that defensive front. I like the Rams despite traveling across the country in this game. And looking real quick at their odds, they're only 1-point favorites. So Vegas is expecting this to be a closer game. I like the Rams to win this outright. So I'll take the points. I'll take the money line as well too.
Yeah. Okay, cool, man. I think that about wraps it up. You want to plug it up, or you want to get to anything else?
Really, real quick. Speaking of the Washington football team, they're playing the Cardinals this week. They're 6.5-point underdogs. What do you think? No, they're on the road. They're going down to Arizona. What do you think of the football team, man? I mean, Dwayne Haskins, he trimmed up. He looked pretty decent. Terry McLaurin is going to be a top 15 wide receiver. This defensive front is legit. What do you think of their chances?
I think this is where I'm calling the upset. I think I was highly impressed with the fact that you were down 17 points in the football team to the Eagles, and your leader Dwayne Haskins was able to step up at halftime and give a motivational speech, and the team bought in. I think the biggest thing is sometimes guys will give those motivational speeches and teams won't buy in, but I think those guys came out, played with some fire. That defensive line with Chase Young and Kerrigan on those boys is nothing to mess around with. And I still haven't bought into the Cardinals. I haven't bought into that system, that air attack that Dancing Cliff runs. I think I'm gonna have Washington up with the upset here, man.
I'm with you, dude. I'm feeling pretty froggy this week. I'm gonna be barking with the dogs again. Give me the Washington football team plus 6.5. Might try to parlay them with a couple other underdogs this week too, but I really liked what I saw. I like the reports coming out of camp of Dwayne Haskins as well too, and That's really all I got, Jay. If you got you want the final word, or I'm just gonna plug this up.
Plug this up and let's call it a day, bro.
All right, man. So this podcast and previous episodes of the Pro Football Radio Podcast can be found on SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Jay has been a wizard getting the audio up on the YouTube channel with some very nice photography, nice pictures up there as well too for your listening and viewing pleasure if you're suffering in silence at work. You can find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Pro Football Radio Podcast, Twitter at PFR Podcast. I'm on Twitter at Brando _ Puma. Jay Chima is at Jay Chima. Like, subscribe, download, follow us. Hit us up on social media. You know, if you got a question you want us to answer on the podcast, by all means. We're also now in fantasy football mode too. If you want our takes on, trades, or if you want our takes on waiver wire ad drops, by all means, hit us up, because 'tis the season of fantasy sports, fantasy football. It's a great time to be alive during these times of COVID, my man.
Cool, awesome, sounds good. All right, cool. Well, let's wrap this up. Let's call it a day. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Vaya con Dios and Freddy Solia!